Okay, we're going to go and get this meeting started. The Marion Common Council regular meeting, June 4th, 2024, 7 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Looks like we have a good crowd tonight. And first, we're going to begin with prayer. But before we move into prayer, I want to kind of give condolences. We have a former member of the City Council, Mr. Alan Miller, that passed away on May 31st. I know Alan. I'm sure many of you knew Alan Miller, and I just wanted to offer my condolences to his family. And I thought it was appropriate right before prayer. And if you could keep his family in your prayers. He served 3 terms on the Marion City Council, and he did many other things in the community, including at IWU. And if you knew Alan, you knew this face very well. And he was a fine man that served our community for a long time and did a lot for our community and the Indiana University or Indiana Wesleyan University. So anyways, just wanted to start the meeting recognizing Alan Miller. We're going to go ahead and ask Pastor Jim Kaminsky to come forward and lead us in our prayer at the beginning of the meeting. I appreciate you, Jim, coming today. And if you could just tell us what church you're with, and then you have about a minute or two for the prayer.
Yes, sir.
You go ahead and turn the microphone.
Thank you, Councilman. I pastor New Life Community Church here in Marion, and just a joy to be here today and to be able to offer up a prayer. Thank you so much, Councilman McKinley.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Father, thank you for this opportunity to come before you. God, I thank you for this amazing city council. I thank you for the men and women that make up this council and govern our city well. And God, we just pray tonight, God, as the affairs and the business of this city are talked about, God, I pray you would give each individual wisdom, God. We pray tonight there be a unity in our city. God, we know that the greatest days for our city are ahead. And Lord, we want to thank you for this great country, the greatest country that has ever been, God. We thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this. God, we pray right now, Father, for your hand to be upon this nation as well as this city, God, as there is a lot that is happening right now, God, but we just bestow and ask for your blessings, and we thank you so much. And so, Lord, we just pray one more time, God, for your wisdom over this time and over this city, God. We also just want to lift up Mr. Miller's family, God. We pray you bring comfort and a peace to them in this time, God. And we just thank you and we bless you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it. And Councilman Marshall leading in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilman Marshall. And if you could tell, the background tonight is the Splash House. And I think after tonight's meeting, we might all head that way, as hot as it is in here. So we'll go ahead and move on to roll call. Madam Clerk.
Kane.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Fordyce.
Here.
Runner.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Devine. Here. Witten.
Here.
Cowgill.
Here.
McKinley.
Here. Moving on to the neighborhood spotlight. Tonight, I'm honored to have the Indiana Wesleyan University Athletics Director, Mr. Dean Webb, and Associate AD, Dr. Jeff Reyes. Gentlemen, if you want to come to the podium. And speaking on the NAI Outdoor National Track Championships, I'll let them do a lot of the speaking, but just full disclosure, I am involved in that event. I am the announcer for the event. It was a phenomenal event, but I would love for you guys to share about the event and how it went, and all the councilmen and councilwomen can ask you questions.
Mic check. You guys hear this?
Press the red button. There you go.
All right, let's try again. There we go. It was already on. Well, thank you, President McKinley, for inviting us here. Opportunity to be spotlighted. As he mentioned, we're here mostly to talk about NAI Nationals Championship that was hosted for track and was hosted and was completed about 10 days ago. It was an outstanding event. We had 1,895 people that checked into our dorms, and we're thankful that 1,895 people also checked back out of our dorms. It was a great event. But it was a very, very full house. They lived in our dorms, ate in our cafeterias, had a wonderful, wonderful experience. Truly just enjoyed every moment of that. A number of national championships were won by a number of teams and individuals. And since I have the microphone, I can brag for a moment. Our own Princess Cara won a national championship in not only disc, but also in shot. So very, very proud of her. But we had teams from all over the country, truly from Florida to Washington State, from New York, from California, you name it, all across the country, along with a team from British Columbia that was actually one of the team champions this year. So a tremendous event. Again, we had about 1,400 athletes, about 300 to 400 coaches and athletic trainers, about another 100 officials that were there as part of the event, and of course, a couple of highly esteemed announcers. But it was truly, truly a great event. As we think about opportunities that we have in this area, we're always thinking about how can we partner well? How can we partner well with the city? How can we partner well with Grant County? And this event really allowed that to happen. We had about 250 unique volunteers that served, everything from driving a golf cart, shuttling people all over, to raking long jump pits, to working in concessions, you name it. There were so many different ways that people served. If any of you were in one of those roles and I missed you during the event, thank you truly for serving. This is our second year hosting the event. So last year as we're going into it, we made some estimations of what the impact would be locally. And we estimated to be approximately a $3 million economic impact. And we were wrong. The economic impact, we were told afterwards, was $4.5 million, was considerably more than what we thought, which is always the right way to be surprised. And we were told that the tax revenue to the city and to the county was just north of $500,000. And so an incredible event that benefited IWU, that benefited the city, benefited Grant County. So truly a great opportunity for us to partner. Looking forward to doing this in the future. Glad to answer any questions that you guys may have. Or anything, Jeff, that you wanted to add, feel free. All right.
I'll go ahead and add a few things. I don't know if my mic's working either. I'll go ahead and add a few things, but he said concessions, but there were food trucks out there, mostly food trucks from businesses within the city of Marion.
Right.
Indiana Wesleyan also hired a lot of these local restaurants to cater every day for the staff and coaches and officials. So it was an excellent event, and I will say I was there all 3 days, and I heard from coaches and officials from teams from all over the country and Canada that said how phenomenally ran this event was. And I believe it's supposed to be 3 years, and maybe talks of extending it another year because of how well it's ran. And it brings, like I said, it brings people from all over, the North America right here to Marion, Indiana. Can you tell us some of the other locations they've held the national tournament?
Yeah, before coming here, it was held at Gulf Shores, Alabama, and it was there for quite a while. I want to say 7 or 8 years. There may have been one other stop between the last time we hosted. We hosted 2010 to 2013, and then again there was just a 1 year that I don't remember where that was, and then Gulf Shores was for quite some time.
Anybody have any other questions? Or great. Well, we really thank you. I put you under the neighborhood spotlight because truly Indiana Wesleyan is our neighbor. And I think there's a lot to be said for what Indiana Wesleyan does for our community, and I look forward to partnering with you guys more in the future, and hopefully spotlighting you again for maybe some more events. And really proud, Princess also won the Athlete of the Year for U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. So something to be really proud of for your university and also for the city of Marion. So again, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay, moving on. We don't have anything at our first responder spotlight, and I think we have one for next meeting, so that's good. And we're going to move into approval of minutes from the regular meeting of May 21st, 2024. I would entertain a motion. I have a motion on the floor by Vice President Calgill. Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Devine. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Runner,
Abstain.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Minutes have been approved. Moving on to consideration and ratification of pre-approved claims, I would entertain a motion. I know we got the fans running, so we'll have to speak louder. We have a motion by Councilman Klein and a second by Councilwoman Devine. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Runner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Moving into consideration of claims. Hope everyone had an opportunity to review those, and I would entertain a motion. I have a motion on the floor by Vice President Calgill. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Runner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Moving into committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I'm sorry. If you will, indulge me a minute. I'd like to add a little more about Alan Miller. He was a friend, a neighbor for years, and a colleague at the Chronicle Tribune. He spent 30 years there before he spent about 20 at Indiana Wesleyan. When he decided to retire from the council, he asked me to run for the Ward 2 seat. He did, for this community, he did so much for so many for so long. This town needs more folks like Alan Miller. But we did have a committee meeting last night. Compliance committee met last evening. We were privileged to have as our expert guests from the Grant County Economic Growth Council, Jacob Everett, Chuck Binkert, and their intern, Ava, who, forgive me, I forgot her last name. I apologize. They were very helpful as we considered more than 20 real property, personal property, and residential tax abatement forms. In the future, we're going to rely on their expertise from square one instead of so late in the process. They've got more knowledge and experience in this area than we do, and we're happy to listen to them. The council obviously still make the decisions, but we think they will be decisions that are better informed. The committee recommends the council approve real property compliance forms from Agricor, Bar Brothers, Mason Village, Vita, Winterland, Halsted, Sulai, Horners, Wiley, Metal, McClure Oil, and Riverside Credit Union, and personal property compliance forms from Hutamaki, GM, Bar Brothers, Atlas, Agricor, and Winterland. We tabled reports from Afina Credit Union as well as several residential abatements forms that lacked information that we needed to make a decision. All of these were tabled. They just didn't have enough information. And Mr. Binkard from the Growth Council agreed to help the committee in gathering that information. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Klein. Any other committee reports? Councilwoman Devine.
I attended the Board of Works meeting yesterday, Monday. What day are we on? Tuesday. Yesterday. And they had a couple of different things up on the agenda. One was regarding a resolution that Chief Gilbert presented regarding incentive pay. He is wanting to look at the possibility of doing some incentive pay bonuses for to help with hiring and recruitment. They have, as we all know, they have many openings. And do not have nearly the applicants that we once saw several years ago. And so they wanted to look at some of those options for whether it be for lateral transfers, bringing them over from other departments, or an incentive program for internal, if somebody within the department refers somebody that they know and they get recruited and hired, then there'd be a kind of a staged incentive to reward bringing somebody in that's a good candidate, that was a good hire. They do know that could potentially bring in another policy then that would likely have to come from the fire department to try and match that, so that we don't end up in that Me Too issue of more pay in one area over another. So I know that that's a possibility, and they were aware of that and talked to the fire department a little bit about what their policy was. We were also told that both fire and police have requested to have their contract reviewed and begin negotiations for the upcoming year. So just know that that'll be coming through as we're entering into budget season. They said they'd let us know when those were going to be. And I haven't been through this yet, so I don't know if that's something that's open that we're able to go to, or if that's, but we'll get more information on that. The city attorney also talked more through what the city property sale procedure would be and presented a resolution talking about giving the adjacent property owners to city-owned lots the first right of refusal to purchase those lots before they go out for open bid for purchase. And then talking about the different types of bids and offers and discussing the process in order to be able to sell those lots, including the notifications, doing title searches, looking for liens, setting a price by the Board of Works, and looking at those competitive bids coming in after the adjacent property owner has the first right to look at those. And then the chairman of the Board of Works, Mr. Husky, also talked about assigning each of the Board of Works members a liaison role with various departments within the city so that they can be more involved and more aware of what's going on. So they're going to start looking at trying to make those connections and talk more to the departments so that they can kind of be a subject matter expert when those topics come up and before the Board of Works, which kind of similar to what we do with our liaison roles and going to different meetings. They've decided to divide themselves out and do kind of a similar thing to be able to help them work better with everything going on with the city. And that was everything from Board of Works. The last utility services meeting was before the last meeting, so I will have a report on that at the next meeting.
Thank you, Councilwoman Devine.
Question real quick. Did you get any notice of how long it might take for the downtown fire station to be put back together?
They didn't even talk about that yet. So I know the mayor had said they were working on putting together the bid package, I believe, but I did not see that come before them yet.
I just didn't know if it came up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other committee reports? Councilman Marshall.
I would like to report that I have met with Superintendent Burke and the board president, Todd Nicholson. we had lunch and just started some dialogue since I'm the new liaison to them with them, and we intend to have monthly lunch meetings, and they're gonna the next meeting they're gonna have some prepared stuff for us to talk about. So there.
Thank you. Not only are you new to that role, but that is a new role. So you're the first in that role. So there you go. Yeah. Looking forward to building our partnership with the schools. Any other committee reports? Go ahead.
We had also talked about the sidewalk funding, doing the 50-50 program, and then the funds that we as council had. President McKinley asked me to put together a flyer, which I have done that, and have run it past him and run it through and talked to Layla about it. So I will be emailing that out to everybody to be able to use, and then we can get that spread out. So that has all our information on it, as well as the rules behind the 50-50 program. And then the next step, I think, will be looking at that procedure from us on how to decide what proper use of our funds would be. But at least we've got the flyer ready to go if we want to start getting that word out. I know that I've already had 2 requests that I've sent on to Mike Graff to get estimates on for them to be able to do the 50-50 match. And now's the time to do that while they're already out working and doing everything going on.
I really appreciate you doing that. Really excited to see some sidewalk repairs, and not only is the mayor and the administration looking at sidewalks, but hopefully we can encourage more people to replace their damaged sidewalks with the city's 50-50 program. And as we get that information, we'll disseminate it probably mostly through social media and make more people aware that we have the 50-50 program, and each council member has a little bit of money to help cover the other 50%. So happy to help our neighbors out with sidewalks. I have one quick update from the Grant County Growth Council. Chuck Binkert has officially taken his role as executive director, and we've officially moved into the Star Bank building downtown Marion. So if you're looking for the Growth Council, it is now in the Star Bank building downtown. If you go inside, it's almost immediately to the right. It's a space that was unused that Star Bank has willingly leased for next to nothing almost, and it's a really nice space. So we had our first meeting in there this morning, and I'm just really excited for the direction of the Growth Council with Chuck Binkert leading the way. Any other committee reports? Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. Appropriation Ordinance 13-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the City of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, the amount of $243,887.04 from the general fund to Board of Works miscellaneous contractual services. Speaking, Dana Galt, City Controller.
Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. Is there any questions on the second reading?
Would you mind just recapping real quick what the request is for the public?
Sure. We are requesting an appropriation for the $243,000, $877 from the general fund for the Board of Works for the Capital One payment that we paid. We want to pay it off, and so that would give us a savings of about $8,000, $8,800.
Fantastic. And just a little extra, it was a contract that from 2 administrations ago that they had taken a loan. The contract, something happened, it fell through, but the loan obviously is still there. The bank wants the money, and we're just looking to pay that off ahead of time and save the city $8,000 in interest. So just for the public's sake, for the public hearing, I want to make sure everyone knew what that was.
We would like to pay it off by the 15th of July.
Okay. Any questions from the council members first? Okay. With no questions, we'll go ahead and move into the public hearing portion. So we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak, come to the podium. Okay, I don't see anybody making their way to the podium, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules on appropriation ordinance number 13, 2024. Second.
A motion on the floor to suspend the rules by Councilman Kane, a second by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? No discussion, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 13, 2024. Second.
I have a motion to pass the appropriation ordinance by Councilman Kane. And was that a second by Councilman Marshall? So I didn't see you. I didn't hear. It's pretty loud in the corner over here. So we have a second by Councilman Marshall. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 13-2024 has passed. Moving on to appropriation ordinance 14-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the City of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, the amount of $165,000 from the edit fund to Park Fitness Court. Speaking Parks Manager Rose Cadena.
Looks like we have Rose Cadena and also Dr. Jeff Reyes, who is our new grant writer for the city. Welcome.
Correct.
So just to recap on this real quick, we're requesting the money from the edit fund for the finish of the Charles Mill Park Fitness Station. The reason being the obesity rate here in Grant County is the second highest in the state of Indiana at 40%. That study was done by the Grant County Health Department. This will significantly improve our community, whose population health, based on their health behaviors, are ranked at a score of 36 out of 100. So this will help finish that, which will help increase this score to the second most obese community in the state of Indiana.
Rose, did you have anything you want to add?
I don't. I'm just here for
Okay.
maybe if anybody has any questions.
All right. Any questions? A quick question again. What's the estimated completion on this timeline?
The timeline is, the estimated completion of the timeline is the end of August of this year. So we've broke ground some, we've had fitness equipment shipped to us, which we're holding up to this point with prior funding, and this will help finish with the concrete pad and the other things necessary to do the mural and things that are required for the fitness station.
And just for clarity, the equipment that was shipped to us was awarded to us through a grant, correct?
That is correct. That is a grant from NFC, which is the National Fitness Campaign. We were awarded the grant for the equipment. It's just this money is utilized for the preparation of the site and other things for the mural.
Great, thank you. This is going to go right next to the new basketball court as well, so a couple really well. Councilwoman Devine.
How's the capital campaign going? I saw that got launched and I've been sharing it, but I didn't know where we were at.
It's going good. We have 35 days left on the campaign. That's a match for match by IHDCA, and they'll match up to $50,000 for $100,000 for us. It's going really well right now. I believe the last I checked with funds that are coming in, we're waiting for checks, but we're at roughly $35,000 already pledged in the first 2 weeks.
That's fantastic. So if anyone's watching at home, where can they donate?
If you check any of the social media, Layla, the mayor, has been posting it online. The city of Marion has posted it. If you click on the link, you can donate by card there, or you can send a check to the Parks Department at the city of Marion. Just attention, the Charles Mill Fitness Station, and we'll get the funds appropriated to the project.
Great, thank you so much. Councilman Klein, did you have a question?
I did, but you asked it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, move on from there and move it into the public hearing portion. So if you would like to speak on this, make your way to the podium and state your name, where you live, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, my name is Bill Creech. I live at 1409 Ironwood here in Marion. And I'd like to start off first by saying I'm not opposed to this. I just think it's a lower priority at this time to spend this much money. And I guess I don't understand the process, because we're having a public hearing, we're having a second reading on this, but yet it's already been announced that it's under construction. Everything's going forward. So I guess some sunlight to this, to me, would be, why are we going through this charade? Again, it's not so much the project, it's the process. If you look at the mayor email that he sent out, the mayor for May in review says the project is going forward. It's his #1 accomplishment. Ties it into the riverfront development. I hope everybody's read that, because that is out, the cart is out before the horse. I don't get that. If this is actually supposed to be a process where you have a public hearing, you have a second reading, how can it already be approved? How can it already be done and started? That to me that's not very transparent. And I think you might want to go back and re-review how you release these things and what's being said, because it's already assumed it's a done deal. It's done. And again, I don't oppose it. I oppose this process. And I think it's wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. You're welcome to come to the podium. State your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Well, I'm Karen Creech, spouse of the other guy. We live at the same place. I just have a question. We claim that this fitness park and all this fitness equipment, all this is going to lower the obesity rate, etc., in Grant County. How are you going to track that? How are you going to know and make a direct correlation that this amount of money, and the money has already been allocated and used for this fitness place, is actually going to reduce the obesity rate? We have a number of activities. We got 2 gyms. We have the Carnal Greenway. We have other parks. We just spent $50,000 on a basketball court for this same park. I realize it's all in the little fancy riverfront development to try to make all pretty, but I like to know, how are you going to track it? How are you going to know that this is a catalyst that's going to lower those health index numbers? And how do you know how many people's going to use it? And how are you going to be able to draw a direct correlation that if you don't put this in, you won't lower the obesity rates with all the other activities, including the YMCA and other things? You can't force people to exercise as much as you may wish to, but how are you going to track it? How are you going to prove that this is what lowered any numbers, if any numbers were lowered?
How's it going to pay off in the long run? If it really lowers numbers and you can make a direct correlation that because we put this in, our health insurance that we pay locally or at state level is lowered because of this, then I'd like to know how you're going to prove data to that. And so if this is just to have something pretty for the new development and it's not really going to be able to be proven that you're really doing it for the health, then I don't understand why we're spending all the money for in this regard if you can't prove that it doesn't and you can't track it or you can't count how many people's using it. And those who are been interviewed or said that they would use it, they're already utilizing our already existing exercise venues. So I just like to know how you're going to track the health metrics on this. And to me, I would take all that concrete and fix the sidewalks. That's me, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing still open. Anybody else? You're welcome to come up to the podium. Not seeing anyone else make their way, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And any motions on the floor?
I'd make a motion to suspend the rules on appropriation ordinance 14-2024.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Fordyce, a second by Councilman Brunner. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
I'd make a motion to pass appropriation ordinance 14-2024.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fordyce. We'll take another second by Councilman Brunner. Any discussion? I will make a quick comment in reference to the public hearing portion. The money used for this portion, the 165, is not the total project amount. I am not aware of the project being completed or started. I know they've moved dirt for the basketball court. The equipment was received for free, so it's sitting there. And the city is literally waiting to see if us as a council would approve this amount to move forward with the project. If we were to vote no, then the equipment will have to be sent back and we cannot complete this project. So this is part of the process. And as far as tracking obesity rates, I think it's probably, you could equate it to reading. You don't know how well the reading and literacy rate goes up until you provide books, especially free books. United Way has a new campaign for free books, and we'll probably know in about 5 to 10 years if that really had an impact as well. It takes time. I will say we do have gyms and memberships, but they all cost money. This will be provided free to every resident in the city of Marion, no matter how much money you have or don't have. This will be the largest in the county, and it will be, I say, located in a nice location that is close to many neighborhoods. It's not way out in the country, and sometimes it's the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And I already know several fitness instructors in town that plan to use the pad on the one side for certain types of aerobics and anaerobic activity, and the other side with the certain equipment they have plans with as well. So a lot of excitement from the fitness community, but I'm excited to provide this free amenity to our citizens at, I would call it a discounted rate because of all the grants and crowdfunding that we're receiving. And so I'm really excited. And also, if we want to attract people to this city, because in today's world, people move to destinations and then find a job. This is a part of that piece of the puzzle of people looking for places to move to. And they look at the totality of all that's available to them. And this is just one more thing that we can provide to our residents. So just a little extra on that. So no more, any other discussion, questions, comments? Okay, I'd entertain, we already did a motion. Yeah, I talked for a little bit. We'll take the roll call, Madam Clerk.
Kane,
No, we didn't do roll call.
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, appropriation ordinance 14-2024 has passed. Moving on to appropriation ordinance 15-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the City of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, the amount of $6,497.07 from ARPA for legal fees. Speaking, Dana Galt, City Controller.
Good evening again, our great esteemed council. We are requesting additional appropriations from the ARPA fund to pay for those legal fees. In preparation for proper management of the ARPA funds, we engaged Barnes and Thornburg and Baker Tilly. So this action was taken to instill confidence among all of us and both administration and the council that the federal funds were being handled appropriately. I am here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Klein.
Yeah, am I on, is this working? My light's
Yes.
on? It is? Okay, I can't tell. Again, thank you. And what the city did was wise and prudent and the right thing. My issue is taking the money out of the ARPA fund, because once that's gone, it's gone. It's not renewable. It's not sustainable. And I think we could find another way to pay for that. Could the city pay for this another way other than ARPA money? And I know it's related to what you were doing, and what you were doing was the right thing.
Sure.
But is there another way to do this and not expend ARPA money?
There is another way that we can do this. However, we, every month, we have interests that have been put in, that we earn interest on that. And so last month, I think it was like 14,000. This month, in May, it's like 17,000. So we have money that can pay for this in the ARPA funds because of the interest that has accrued.
So how long can we keep this in that account and accrue that interest? Yeah, I know. Any other questions? Okay, no other questions. We'll move it to the public hearing. Public hearing is open. The podium is available. If you'd like to speak, make your way to the podium at this time. I'm not seeing anyone move to the podium, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we suspend the rules on appropriation ordinance number 15, 2024.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Kane, second by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein, Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
Chairman, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 15, 2024.
Second.
Motion to pass the appropriation ordinance 15-2024 by Councilman Kane and seconded by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Reluctantly, yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 15-2024 has passed. And moving into general ordinance 10-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance amending and restating General Ordinance 14-2014 concerning the waste disposal fees for the city of Marion. Speaking, Utility Director Robin Schrader.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I brought packets with me again with the complete information. They're behind me here if anybody wants one of those. And I'll just briefly summarize what we went over 2 weeks ago. 10 years ago, Marion Utilities assumed the responsibility for garbage collection and disposal, first through the completion of the city's contract with Republic Services, and then as the fourth utility under our umbrella. The original rate was set at $13.80. During those 10 years, Marion experienced a 4% decline in population, while the amount of waste we collected increased by 38%. In order for us to keep up with that level of increase, we had to add 3 more full-time employees, 3 part-time employees, periodic temps, and 4 more vehicles. On the financial front, we've seen a slight increase in revenue and a significant increase in expenses. Chart 3 in the packet illustrates this pretty well. In 2018, expenses first exceeded our income by a small margin, but steadily since 2020, the gap has been widening. In 2022, we exhausted all remaining cash reserves, forcing us to begin borrowing from other utilities. To date, there have been 2 short-term loans, one from the wastewater utility in March of 2023 for $250,000, and the other from the stormwater utility just this past spring for $260,000. As a side note, when money is loaned from one utility to another, that means preventative maintenance and capital improvement projects have to be reduced somewhere else. That said, those who remember what trash collection was like prior to 2016 often attest the improvement that's been made. Marion Utilities has upgraded the overall trash experience by offering the following services beyond residential pickup: free roll-off boxes for neighborhood association cleanup initiatives, assistance for ADA customers, trash assistance for community events, easy handling of large item disposal, allowing residential equivalent small businesses to opt in, regularly receiving waste collected by the Sheriff's Department, parks, and the city for no additional charge, and receiving waste delivered to the transfer station directly, including construction and demolition materials. 2 weeks ago, I shared the details of how some of our neighboring communities are handling their solid waste. I'll not repeat all of that this evening, but the details can be found on the last 2 pages of the packet. To briefly summarize, I believe our rates have been and will continue to be competitive. After analyzing the increase in waste collected and hauled with consideration for the additional material being transported to the landfill, dramatically increased operating expenses, additional resources required to maintain quality personnel, and the uncalculated value of keeping our city clean, we have determined that a rate increase is necessary. In order to accomplish this and stop operating at a deficit, we would ask that the City Council consider approving a $9 increase to our monthly service charge to be made effective August 1st later this year. The new monthly total will be $22.80, but all other charges and fees would remain the same. Assuming our economy holds on its current trajectory, the utility's financial advisors at Crow believe this new rate should allow us to operate successfully without additional resources or without additional increases for at least 3 years. Marion Utilities wants to continue adding value to our community by providing this quality service, but we need your help. Thank you for considering this request.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yeah, I understand 100% completely why we need to do this to keep you from running in the red. The only question that I would ask is, does this have to go before the Utilities Regulation Commission, or is it already, since it's a utility rate increase? Or?
The Utility Service Board has already approved this.
Okay,
yes.
That was my only question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Robin, what other ideas have you guys looked at as ways to increase revenues? I think we talked about some of them, whether it be charging for the second bin or some other things, but I know you guys projected those that they wouldn't help with a great percentage of the increase, or
Well, we're continually looking at what our options might be. Anytime we make those changes, it comes back to the council for approval. And so that's why we haven't done so at this point. But there are some other things that we could consider. Many communities do charge for a second toter if that's amenable. Sometimes there are different rules for landlords and what they are allowed to dispose of and how that works. We haven't looked at specific numbers for those.
I have a question. You mentioned loans from other utilities. When I hear loans, it's usually there's an expected payback. Do the other utility divisions expect money to be paid back once it's recouped from the solid waste?
Normally, when we do a loan transfer between the utilities, that's a 1-year time limit. And so time is somewhat of the essence here.
So if this were to pass, will the solid waste division start paying money back, or is it going to be a forgiven loan or forgiven loans?
It will need to be paid back, but honestly, if we are able to start on August 1st, we may actually have to take another small transfer from one of the utilities to get us to that point. But then at that point, we would begin the payback process.
Do you have an estimated amount of time to pay back and make the other divisions whole again?
We haven't specifically talked about that. It's at the discretion of the board to extend that or forgive that, and we haven't gotten there yet.
And can you tell me estimated or exact all the total amount of loans?
Right now, that's, if I'm doing my math right, $510,000.
And then the other question I have, you said in 3 years, hope to make this 3 years. What kind of things will be implemented, I'll say differently, to prevent this from happening again? I mean, $9 is and if you look at the percentage, it's a pretty big percentage jump. So what kind of things are changing to prevent a percentage jump like this again?
Well, we have every intention of more frequently reviewing these costs with our financial advisors. I do know that COVID kind of played a role in part of the hiccup in seeking some of this earlier, because when we started this utility 10 years ago, the thought was that we could probably make it 4 or 5 years at the 1380 rate. And so moving forward, I would just recommend to look at that more frequently.
Great. I thank you for that, and just echo that. I strongly encourage that so we don't get to this position again.
Absolutely.
Because I have gotten lots of feedback about $9 to some people is not much, but $9 it's a big take for some people living pretty tight paychecks. So I just want to make sure I am aware of this $9 increase being maybe not comfortable for many of our citizens, and I just really don't want to be in this position. I don't want the council to be in this position again. And so I thank you for committing to the 3-year recurring look. And if it needs to happen sooner than 3 years, we would entertain that. Not because we want to raise the rates, just we don't want to take a rate hike like this again.
Understood.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was following along with you until we start talking about the loans. And you say you consulted, you got some consulting that you used to arrive at the $9 increase,
That's correct.
but you did not include the loan repay as part of the math in
Well,
those calculations?
That is included in it, yes. And so we should be able to recoup that. It's just going to take a minute for that to rebuild in order for us to get to that point.
Okay, so then I guess that's where I question, shouldn't you be able to tell us that within, are you saying within the 3 years, those would be made whole?
Yes.
There had to be some kind of amortization table made for that loan payback.
Yes,
There.
3 years at the most.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the part I just want to be clear about. That's all.
And I do want to make a comment, if we're lucky enough that the economy cools down and inflation cools down, if things go down in price, it's possible that you could lower rates in the future, correct?
I suppose anything's possible.
Okay.
Given what we've seen over the last few years, I'm not going to hold my breath, but
I understand, yeah, it's not normal that things come down, but just in the event, if we get to that 3-year mark and the solid waste is doing very well, I would love for you to come back and go, great news, we're able to bring it down a little bit, so.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marion Utilities exists to serve the community of Marion. And so everything that we bring in goes back into the community. You know, the prices that we charge are because we have to operate at those costs, and we want to provide a quality service. And so that's where everything goes. It's a non-for-profit scenario. And so the community is getting all of that benefit.
Great. I did want to add one more thing. Most of these conversations have been about the rate, but included in this is also codifying the charges. As you see on the screen behind me, I believe all these are now codified. They were already part of, I don't know what you call it, utilities, part of your manual or your rate sheet, but these will now be codified through the city. So if there would be a request to change these rates that are behind me for roll-offs and toters and all that, that also would have to come before the council. So that way things just can't be changed at any time. So I do commend you for doing that. You're in a sense tying your hands a little bit, but I think it's being more transparent and allowing us as a council to have input on that. So I appreciate that. And I do want to say, I did not know until this process that the utilities provides roll-offs. So, you know, most of the time we think we need a dumpster, we got to call some third party, but the Marion Utilities provides roll-offs for rent. So if you need a roll-off in your driveway to clean out your garage, contact the solid waste. Any other questions, comments?
One more thought. I know with some of the utilities, water and sewer specifically, that there is some assistance available. Is that also true for the solid waste utility?
Our assistance program essentially goes for all of the utility bills. There is a phrase in the ordinance that dictates how exactly those are appropriated. And I could probably look that up for you here. But I believe the leverage that we have to help people, encourage people pay their bills is the water, because we can shut that service off. And so, but there is an order of how that's applied. And we do have a couple of different community assistance programs, H2O community being the biggest one. And I know that there have been, especially through the COVID section, there were a number of other opportunities that we have encouraged folks to take advantage of as well.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and move this into the public hearing portion. Thank you, Robin. And if you would like to speak on this, go ahead and come to the front. State your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Linda Wilk, 1016 West 5th Street. No one likes increases, I get that, but I like the trash service. I like the consistency that I've been given every week. They pick up our trash, they do a great job, so I'm completely in support of this increase. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Welcome. You know the drill.
Yeah, Bill Creech, 1409.
Microphone, please.
Must have been on earlier. Bill Creech, 1409 Ironwood. I 100% support this, but I'd also like to say that we picked up your proposal, Robin, last time and read through it. I think that was a very excellent job that she did, and I just would like to say that that was a wonderful thing. I think my only hesitation about any of this was something I think Brian brought up, Mr. Cowgill, Councilman Cowgill, was, you know, I know we don't like rate increases and neither do I. And I can't believe I'm saying this, knock on wood, but do we have enough built into it? And maybe we should consider a possible dollar fee a month that goes towards the loan. And then it dissolves after the loan's paid off to take the burden. Because of all the regulatory things that are out there, you never know when those costs are gonna go up as far as waste disposal and things like that. I just would like to maybe bring that into light somehow. But again, great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Ruth Ann Sumter. I live at 809 McAllen Drive, Marion. And I think the utilities does a great service and are very faithful and reliable. My comment has to do with the fact that I'm very frugal and I only put out a trash tote maybe every 4 weeks. And my trash tote is one of the smaller ones. Whereas neighbors put out 2 totes every week. I don't understand why I have to pay as much as they do when I don't contribute as much as they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing still open? Would anybody else like to speak? Not seeing anyone make the podium, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion. Mike.
Mr. President, I have one question for our counselor before we do that. Counselor, since this had to go before the Utilities Regulatory Commission of the state, does this have to go to 3 readings? I was just kind of curious because I remember one time that since it's utility rate increase, can the rules be suspended or does it have to go to 3?
I'm not aware of anything that requires it to go to 3.
There was, Madam Clerk, one time we had to do one that was 3 reading. We couldn't suspend the rules. I was trying to remember that. I was just wanted to make sure, be legally correct.
Councilman Klein.
I'm getting a signal from Mr. Logan and I can't read his hand signal. Do we need to go all 3 readings? So from your standpoint, if we suspend the rules, we're okay? He's giving us bottom line, he's giving us a thumbs up that the board would support that if we suspended the rules.
Which board are you talking about?
Utility service board.
Okay.
Utility service, but I didn't have my mic on. I was talking to Mr. Logan, who's chairman. And excuse me for doing
all right.
Side chat, but
I just wanted it on the record for the minutes. So did I answer your question, Councilman Fordyce?
Yeah.
Sounds like between our legal counsel and the board, I think we're okay. Okay. Hold on one moment.
mic's on.
I would just comment, I think they still have to, you could do 2 readings here under our ordinance, but because there's a fee, you still have to publish your ordinance in order to charge, right?
Yes, so that was why so if it would pass today, they had, and if it passed, they would not start until August 1st to allow time for the publishing of that rate. That's why they waited, if it passed, to August 1st to follow that required timeline to post the rate and to go through another billing cycle before it hits. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to suspend the rules on General Ordinance 10/2024.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules by Vice President Cowgill, a second by Councilman Kane. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to, that we pass General Ordinance number 10/2024.
Second.
Motion by Vice President Cowgill, a second by Councilman Kane. Any discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 10-2024 has passed. Moving on to the review and approval of CF1 forms, still under the unfinished business category. And we did get a committee report from Councilman Klein earlier on those CF1 forms. And Councilman Klein, if you could also restate the recommendations for the record.
Thank you. I'm calling it back up here. The committee recommends the council approve these real property compliance forms. Agricor, Bar Brothers, Mason Village, Vita, Winterland, Halsted, Sulai, Horners, Wiley Metal, McClure Oil, and Riverside Credit Union. And on the property, the personal property side, we recommend approval of Huhtamaki, General Motors, Bar Brothers, Atlas, Agricor, and Winterland.
Thank you for that. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move we approve those personal property and real property compliance forms, that these businesses are indeed in compliance with their tax abatements.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Klein and a second by Councilman Fordyce. Any discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
I will abstain due to the fact that McClure Oil is a part of this group, and I will abstain. Hopefully all these pass. Thank you.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Those CF1s have been approved, and again, the CF1s from Afina, Aronson Residential, Western Residential have been tabled to the next meeting to allow the Grant County Growth Council Executive Director Chuck Binker to do some follow-up, and hopefully we'll have those back at the next meeting. Yes.
And one we just received, Buchanan Residential.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other one that we just received is definitely getting tabled. Had no time to review it. And on the record, the due date for those is May 15th. So we'll still consider it, but it'll get tabled to the next meeting. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. The committee meeting yesterday was Very educational for those that weren't able to make it. There was a PowerPoint that I will share with the rest of the council. And really looking forward to having the Growth Council partner with us and using their expertise to help approve those in the future, and also help us approve them better on the front end. Okay, moving on to new business, resolution 6-2024.
A resolution accepting the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement. Speaking, Corporate Counsel Michael Hawks.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. So essentially, there's a little bit of context. I bought a title company in the middle of COVID 4 years ago called Grant County Abstract, which seemed like a great idea at the time, still is. So I'm actually a 50% owner of that company. Grant County Abstract, by way of background, it's probably been there about 80 years. The Finch families own that. I think Lloyd Finch started that right after we got back from World War II. And so essentially what's before you is a uniform conflict of interest that just discloses that I have an ownership of that. The city of Marion, from time to time, that could be something that maybe I direct if the mayor had a need for some sort of title search. Maybe, searches to be completed. There are other times, for example, that the building department, so the commissioner, if they are going to, for example, tear down a dilapidated building like an unsafe structure, they will obviously go through the Board of Public Works, and there's an administrative process for condemning that. But one of those steps is they have to essentially order a search to identify anybody has a substantial interest in the property and notify them that, hey, your property is about to be destroyed. That could be a bank, somebody that has a judgment against the property, a mechanics lien. From time to time, the city is ordered title searches. For example, I think maybe 10 plus years ago, the city acquired a bunch of tax sale properties. Probably have about 300 to 350 of those still around. So at that time, that might have been 400 or 500 of those. Those were ordered through Grant County Abstract to do those searches, to notify anybody that has a substantial interest in the property, and then that's go through the process. Judge Todd give a tax deed. So there are times that I may be in a position to direct, or quite honestly, it's the redevelopment. They're free to do whatever they essentially want. I haven't changed anything by me starting as corporate counsel as far as January 1st, but that is essentially an interest that I have. And so what that form does is that form is filed, disclosed to the mayor. There was a little bit of debate. I apologize for the handwriting. I have tragically bad handwriting, so I think somebody mentioned that. Yeah. So I did my best to retype it up, send it around. Yeah. There was a debate. I had to kind of go back and forth with the State Board of Accounts about who do we go in front of, and so admittedly a little bit delayed, but just with kind of starting different things. It's just a big startup, right? The new administration, big startup, kind of different directions. So mayor knows about it, disclosed to him. That's actually loaded up in Gateway, which is where we do all our financial reporting. So the state knows about that. There's also a requirement, oddly, that I sent to the clerk of the county. So we did that, and State Board of Accounts felt that it should come back here to be disclosed to you guys, because obviously as part of your responsibility as a fiscal body, would approve potentially claims that come through from time to time. To give you an estimate, a title search is probably a $250 to $275 sort of item. So it's not just put on my kind of ownership hat from the title company. Really, where you sort of make your money in title is common residential buy sell, right? Where there's closing, title insurance, and a search. So it's not a huge cost driver for us or a profit area, but it is a service that we provide. So with that, happy to take any questions you guys may have.
Go ahead.
Council, why do we have to do a resolution? Why not? Because we've had to sign the Uniform Conflict of Interest Code. So why do we need a resolution to authorize your conflict of interest since you own the business? I mean, are you going to just...
You know, I
Turn
look,
down all the business, or turn down your share, the 50% share on your business, or no proceeds, or, I mean, why a resolution? Because that gives you the total authority to go ahead and proceed with title work or whatever from the city.
yeah, good question. Yeah, I guess what's being asked is just to acknowledge that the disclosure's been made, right? Whether you said, hey, I don't approve of it, I don't like it, that's not really the request. The law just says that it's been disclosed in a public forum, essentially. As far as a resolution, I guess in my mind, just to kind of know where I'm, at, I think of an ordinance as, a law, right? And a resolution is just sort of the body saying we're taking action. And I guess the action here is that we accept that you disclose to us. We might not like it. We don't, you might say, hey, I think that's wrong or whatnot, but just acknowledging that it's here before you, essentially. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Well, to go along with what Gary says, that, again, this, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but what if we didn't approve it? What does that mean? You can't, there's nothing. So, yeah, and which we're fine to, I appreciate you bringing it to us, and I think I would rather err on the side of caution of bringing it to us.
That's yeah, exactly.
Than not.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Did the city historically use GCA title before you came in?
Yes. Yeah. So they have used, like I said, that relationship's been there 80 years. The title searches that were referenced those tax sale properties there 10 plus years ago, those were all done by Grant County Abstract. Yeah, there's been a history, a common practice. And I can tell you honestly, I haven't done anything. Obviously, it benefits me. I didn't do anything to change it. I didn't say one thing one way or the other. And so, yeah, they just, for example, the building department just ordered the search the other day, and they just have a course of dealings, and they just kind of do what they do there. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes. There's not really been much of competition in the county.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there has been title companies for the last, you go back like 50 years, there's been different title companies that have come and gone through the years. I think there is, technically there's one other company, I think it was North American, then it went to Doma, then they sold off to somebody else. So there is one other group in town.
Great, any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion for this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass resolution number 6, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kane, second by Councilman Klein. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, resolution 6-2024 has passed. And really quick, some quick news or updates. Speaking of Marion Utilities, solid waste, the first citywide cleanup for this year is coming up June 29th. And then again, this is provided by Marion Utilities Solid Waste Division. It's the first of 4 this year, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, this I want to say that the curbside is only for 30th to 50th Street, because we're going to divide the city into sections this year. Not so much the neighborhood associations, even though they're working with us, or not with us, with them, because not every neighborhood has an association. So they're just dividing the city for the curbside. So anyone from 30th to 50th Street, from the bypass to Lincoln Boulevard, will get the curbside pickup. And you can find all this on their social media. They'll have all those details. But the rest of the city is welcome to bring their stuff to the citywide cleanup. And the central location, as you see on the back of the screen here, is 33rd in Nebraska, 9 a.m. kickoff. And at noon, there is some free pizza. And some limitations are no yard waste, tires, paint, or TVs. And you do need an ID this time, because why this service is free, It is free to the residents of Marion. We don't want people from out of town coming and dumping their stuff. So you will need to show an ID to show your address. But just wanted to say thank you for the Marion Utilities for having this, and for all the neighborhood associations coming together and working to get our city clean. That's all I have. Any other council members have any updates or news? Great. All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Kane, a second by Vice President Cowgill. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming.